Good morning. I've called this press conference today because last night, for the second time in recent history, Compassion Party gubernatorial candidate Anne Armstrong's grandson was attacked using a very dangerous technique or tactic known as SWATting, in which a fake gun threat, usually involving a child or minor, is called to police who respond with armed raids. This has happened, as I said, in recent history twice in two different police jurisdictions and school districts, and the incidents have been positively connected by personnel, four personnel spanning two school districts, dishonestly involved. We're not going to name them or identify their positions at this point. This is ongoing. There are security and privacy issues even as we have to blow the whistle on this. This swatting practice is very dangerous to civilians, bystanders, witnesses, victims, the public, and most of all, the men and women of law enforcement, who in this case, the West Greenwich Police and last night the Narragansett Police responded with overwhelming situational control, professionality, and restraint, mostly born of a good BS sniffer. And so no one came to any harm in these cases, but it's still a very dangerous practice that endangers the hard-working men and women of law enforcement in Rhode Island. And so we need to take a very hard look at this. We are working with the police chiefs of both jurisdictions and have contacted them and federal authorities in the United States Attorney's Office. But we are going to Washington with this because of the political aspect and campaign of it, to gain greater independence lest it appear political, whether it be investigated by a Democratic state attorney general, a Republican United States attorney, or former colleague of my opponent in a race for that. I'm involved in a race. So to gain independence, we're going to use our established rapport with the Justice Department in Washington and Jeff Sessions' office to have a look at this. There is an interstate component to this. It's been identified, and suspected links to child trafficking. We're gravely concerned about that. This isn't about a campaign. This isn't a campaign stunt. Our primary concern is safety, the safety of victims, a child being victimized by this, a very brave minor, the safety of other victims of this very dangerous practice of swatting, witnesses, bystanders, and again, most importantly, the men and women of law enforcement, who again, I would like to add, were excellent in both of these incidents, and thanks to their restraint, professionality, and overwhelming situational control, no one came to any harm from these false police reports, very dangerous ones, I might add. I have a few more comments. Again, I want to add that personnel in both school districts have been implicated in these events that were in each case orchestrated by a child. We've got personnel in both school districts implicated and tied to one another, linking the two events or attacks. And again, what seems to touch upon an interstate, I'm sorry to say, child trafficking ring, so it's more important than ever that federal investigatory authorities become involved, and again from Washington outside the area. We've got a very careful balance of privacy and security with our need to blow the whistle on this and publicize this for our protection and for the protection of the men and women in law enforcement, because at this point in history, with all these gun threats, when one is called in, even if it's fake, even if it looks fake, they've got to respond and respond quickly and overwhelmingly, and at the same time they're under terrible pressure to use maximal restraint and not hurt anybody. And the two pressures coming together in a swatting has been lethally dangerous. We've seen in one incident, and we got to take serious measures to prevent dishonesty from endangering the hardworking men and women in law enforcement in Rhode Island, and we're going to take a serious look at that and what we can do to protect them further from this in the future. And finally, I would just like to add that this is ongoing, developing, and we'll have new details soon. Thank you for your patience, and God bless.